Hi everybody, my name is Kiara with Goshen Sprouts Homeschool, and today if you're looking at this video then you likely clicked on my Teachers Pay Teachers link for the Hebrew Interactive Binder for Beginners. So I created this YouTube video because all too often I go to purchase a large resource from TpT and I don't get to really see what's inside of the item. And sometimes that resource may cost more than a few dollars. And I tend to feel like I just don't know enough about the resource and whether it will fit my child's needs or not to make the purchase. I wanted to give you an opportunity to see and understand a little bit better about what's inside of the interactive Hebrew binder. I'll give you a full tour of the first week and the first day setup of the binder, and then we'll talk a little bit about the games and the activities that the students will be able to play throughout the course. So there are a few things that I would like to explain about the Hebrew binder first. So it's a 5-week course that I've already completed with my students and they loved it. At the end of the course, your students will be able to recognize, correctly pronounce, and write all of the Hebrew letters minus their final forms. Okay, so let's get into the binder. So when I teach this class, the first thing that I like to do is hand my students the cover page that goes in the clear pocket of their binder, and they get to write their name on it in whatever color they desire. Next, I make sure that I have the day 1 teacher script for the binder set up printed and ready to go, and I like to use the script to help walk the students through how to set their binder up for the first day. Now, just because we set the binder up for the first day, it doesn't mean that we don't get into lesson 1 or week 1. So I just go ahead and read out everything to the students and have them follow along. I pass out, of course, all their materials. They sort through it and insert what they need to. The table of contents is optional. I personally don't use it, but if a teacher desires to use it, they can. It'll help students to be able to keep up with what's inside of their binder. I make sure that I read the explain to the class. Basically, this just kind of lets students know that as they follow along, they have these different pocket inserts and cover pages for flashcard-like games and activities. This is an example of one. And I'll also pass them out a set of flashcards, for example, like this. And students can cut the flashcards out and put it in the back of their cover page slip. I also explain to students that they have posters and of the Hebrew AlephBet and where they should place that as well. And then we can get into week 1. So week 1's lessons and activities will seem somewhat repetitive, but that's only until students can gain a handful of AlephBet Hebrew letters to be able to play some games to practice with. So every time I teach this class, the format is usually pretty much the same. We always start off with the teacher script. And the teacher script will basically, again, let you know what the class is going to outline. It will have a little bit of information about the Hebrew letter. It'll instruct you to show students the picture of the Hebrew letter, Aleph, and then instructions to the class about how to do the activity. Every class also ends with a review of flashcards. So this week, for week 1, the activities are as follows. Here's a copy of the Aleph poster. Students can, a teacher can pass it out to the students. You can take the Aleph or the AlephBet posters and post them on the wall. Teachers can make a book out of it. The options are endless and whatever you desire. After showing the class the Aleph poster, then students will get the opportunity to write on their manuscript. Then we get into the activity. Now this one does not have a clear pocket on it because it's not really a flashcard based activity. So the Hebrew letter imaginative draw. Students are going to choose a Hebrew word from the list, the Aleph word list, and then use their imagination to draw and color the object using the Hebrew letter on the sheet. So here's an example of that. So for the Aleph word list, there's Aryeh, which is lion, Assam, barn, Abba, father, Aviv, spring, and ananas, which is pineapple. And students will basically use their imagination to draw out a item from this list. It could be a lion or barn or a picture of a dad. Just any kind of way they can. Can they turn this Aleph into a picture of a lion, for example? And then we get into lesson 2, which will be the next day. Again, it totally depends on you. If you desire to do 2 classes a day, then you can. If you desire to do 3 or 4 classes a day to just cover as much as you can, it's totally up to you. So lesson 2 is just like lesson 1, all the way up until Gimel. Again, it's got the manuscripts. Dalet. All the way up until Hay. And so at the end of the lesson 5, I believe it is. At the end of the lesson for Hay, students will get to play a game with all of the letters that they actually learned. And so this game is called Hebrew Letter Draw and Match. It's really simple. Very simple, very low prep. Very few materials needed. And what they'll do is, let's see how they can insert here. What they'll get to do is take a sheet, preferably printed on cardstock, so it'll be nice and sturdy. They'll take a printed sheet of this, everybody gets one, and they will write the words, the Hebrew words from their lists. So if your student chose Horim for parents, and if they chose, say for example, Aviv for spring, if they chose those things, then what they're gonna do on that sheet, they're gonna draw a picture on one side, a picture of something springy. It could be a flower, or a picture of their parents, and then say it could be a picture of ice cream, or all of the words that they chose from the previous activities. And then what they're going to do on the opposite is they're going to write the Hebrew letter that matches. So the Aleph, the Beit, Gimel, Dalet, Hey, and then they'll cut it out, flip over everything, and then match it. And so they'll match the correct beginning of that Hebrew word with the correct Hebrew letter. And that completes week 1. Okay, so as far as the games go, there are 4 different types of games and activities. So we have hands-on craft type activities, board game type games with lots of active physical movement, and then worksheet type activities. So I want to show you a little bit of each type of game to give you an idea about the games in the Hebrew binder. And so this first one is called Hebrew Letter Play-Doh Mats. Kids love this one because they get to make and play with their own Play-Doh. It's super easy and simple, and children just shape the Play-Doh over top of the mats to make the Hebrew letter that they're working on. And so here's some previews about, here's the Play-Doh recipe. So we have Vav, Zayin, Het, and Tet, and Yud. And so like I said, students just shape the Play-Doh over top of the Hebrew mat. And then these Play-Doh mats are really, since it's paper, again, you can slip them into the plastic pocket, and that'll help to keep the Play-Doh mat well. The next one is a board game type activity. It's called Name That Hebrew Letter Race, and children get to take turns drawing a card from a pile, and then they have to name all the Hebrew letters on that card, and then they get to roll a dice and move that many spaces. And so let's just see what it looks like. Here's the board game, and here is an example of the cards that they'll cut out. And all of these letters are reviewed letters, so they should already have all these letters under their belt to be able to play this game. This one was hard for me to choose which one to show you. This is a very active game, and I really recommend laminating this game for durability. It's called Hebrew Letter Froggy Hop. So lily pads with Hebrew letters are placed all over the floor, and one student calls out a letter, and the others have to hop to the lily pad with the correct letter on it first, and they can't touch the floor as they hop. If they do, then they're out. And so here's a sneak peek at Hebrew Letter Froggy Hop. And this is a really simple game too. This is something that, you can play on your own by just drawing it out on some paper or cutting it out on construction paper, but I definitely do recommend laminating these for durability purposes, because if you don't, well, you can imagine what will happen. And lastly, we have worksheet type activities. So the one that I chose to show is the Hebrew letter puzzles. Students get to color in the Hebrew letters and then cut out the pieces, mix them up, and put them together. And I'll let you see what that looks like. A couple of these for example. Now that was only 4 out of a total of 15 Hebrew letter review games. Some of these individual games can be found on my TpT store with the full set of Hebrew letters. I hope the interactive Hebrew binder gave you some different game and activity ideas to do with your class or your students or your children to teach them the Hebrew AlephBet. If you want to, you can go to my Teachers Pay Teachers store. It's Goshen Sprouts Homeschool. If you want to, you can purchase the digital download for the interactive Hebrew binder on my Teachers Pay Teachers store. You just visit www.teacherspayteachers.com/Goshen Sprouts Homeschool. Again, and I'll link that in the description below. Again, I really hope that you enjoyed this video, and thank you for watching. Bye.